In the Money Media YouTube channel, in the Money Media podcast, Harness Players podcast, back for another edition. We took the last week off because we were just kind of riding the hangover of North America Cup weekend. What a doozy of a weekend that was, certainly, especially the $1 million final. Lou Print going down or going up against Madden Oaks and holding that one off to score in the stakes track Canadian record time 147-1. Really a stellar race and a cool weekend of racing up there at Woodbine Mohawk Park, but that was 2 weeks ago. Upcoming this weekend, some stakes action at the Meadowlands. We're going to take a look at some precursors to some of the older stakes we see on the Meadowlands Pace undercard, and also some glimpses to others who we might see getting ready to bud on Hambletonian Day. Of course, Reynolds Stakes also happening on that Saturday card at the Meadowlands, but we're going to touch mostly on the older competition. And me being the youngster, naturally, I am hosting proceedings here. We'd like to thank Diamond Creek Farm, by the way, for helping to me host these proceedings. And not just me, I have some oldsters to bring on here to the show as well. They include my usual co-host, Mike Prebozy, who we're not going to say is double my age, because my age is only getting higher by the year, and that means yours is getting quite up there. But you don't look it. You don't look it. I'll give you that.
I think it's close to double, though, right? I mean,
we're
right
do think
there.
Yeah,
it's real close. And for a while, it was like you were one of my kids. I'm not sure if it's quite that way anymore, but it is exciting to get a little Meadowlands on the card here. These are nice races, some stakes that we need to get into. And, we're starting to trend to some of these bigger races in the summertime. Meadowlands Pace just a couple weeks away. And, leading up to that, there's, less than 40 days of the Hambletonian. So here we go. I mean, it's time to start focusing on, some of this Grand Circuit Stakes season as we go on here. So we're going to be an every week show now, I think, for at least the next 2 months.
Especially Meadowlands Pace, one of the more exciting weekends in harness racing, too. I know our hosts, or our sponsors, I should say, Diamond Creek Farms, really fond of that race. They were able to win it a few years ago with the darling of the whole stable, Confederate, just blowing them away inside of that race, where more notably, Ray Cotolo gave out Long Shot Hungry Angel Boy to complete the exacta. But, most people like to they just like to write over the headline of the whole story. Not just us, though. We're great brains, but we need to get another brain, especially when we're talking Meadowlands, because Mr. Thomas Svensen has an esteemed eye, is what we should say, when it comes to the Meadowlands action, particularly trotters. But you're not afraid of a pacer here and there. I think people think the Europeans are afraid of the pacers. You are not.
No, we are not. I love a good pacing race, especially the quality we're going to get on Meadowlands on Saturday. So, and the trotting races is packed. So I'm looking forward to this card.
And our focus will start with the fourth race on Saturday, June the 28th, 2025, in case we forget what year it is. Sometimes I do, and it's for reasons that are disheartening, but I'm on a Harness Players podcast, so everything is okay. 6-pack! No, this race is not named for my musculature, as many people might think. $114,000 purse. This is a mare trotting stake, 7-go Postward. Really, it's kind of an Ox Fenstead stake to a degree as well. He acquired Me Goo from Jason Skinner's stable last season. She was a breakout star among the older trotting ranks, but Ox Fenstead continues to bring these Euros over. He's got Dial Square finding her footing. Nelson Bright Eagle was an import here, I believe, last season, and she was making a mark at the older ranks too. Atiri is an Italian import, and what better way than to start here, Thomas? I'm sure you're familiar with some of these imports, and maybe you have some thoughts on them.
Yep. I know all of them from racing overseas, and I'm super impressed what Aki have done with Dial Square, because I was not super high on her in Sweden. She was maybe top 20 when she was a 4-year-old, but she have been more than I'm super surprised. But I could see that in the first leg with the Miss Fertility, that Aki knows something was there when he parked the MS Dream, I think, MM Dream directly, and he won on 51-3. I tried to beat the last time up in Canada when James McDonald was driving her with the Call Me Goo. I did not. This time here, I'm sure everybody's going to go to the window on Dial Square. She's going to be a big, big favorite. This is a just 7-horse field, and it's going to be exciting to see the shoe information with Aki there. I'm going to take a shot against this time also against Dial Squares because I think Call Me Goo is the best horse. And what about Nelson Bright Eagle? She haven't been like she was last year, but she haven't raced with shoe this. She raced all races with shoe. She was scratched up in Canada, so she have a big question mark. Eteria, decent qualifier, not a super good performance on Chester in overnight. Stream, she's getting up in age. For me, I think I'm gonna. I like to get the pick 5 or pick 4 many times, so I'm gonna go for Call Me Goo. I think Aki with a 7-horse field, she have 2 races in her now. I think she's a better horse than Dial Square. So, and I know the batters is gonna be on Dial Square. So for me, Call Me Goo.
I don't know if you have much memory of Nelson Bright Eagle from her Armbro flight elimination, because I was having a tough time gauging whether she was 100% or not inside of that race. And I definitely caught my eye then on North America Cup night when they scratched her lame. I don't know if you have any memory, any insight then.
Yeah, she didn't look super, super good. And I was a little surprised when she was scratched lame, because normally if you have an issue with a horse and she is a little sore or lame and need vet work, 95% of the trainers scratch them sick because it's so much easier to have a confidence in the driver and the batters next time. But scratch lame. But she's coming out now 2 weeks later, so it can't be that super big issue. I haven't heard anything, but she haven't looked as sharp this year that she did last year. So for me, if I can get close to 5-2 that I think I would get on Call Me Goo, maybe a little less, 7-5 or something like that. I take that every day.
And Mike, it seems like Ak is more insistent on trying to race Call Me Goo aggressively. We saw her more be an off the helmet type. Towards the Breeders' Crown, she started getting maybe a little bit more aggressive inside the races too. And you look down the page, there are a lot of horses that kind of prefer to stalk, and especially ones like Dial Square. Now that she's being wrangled back, she was initially hot in her debut here, and ever since then they've been trying to teach her to be more methodical. Willie's Home Run, another one, seeming like she has a strong punch to offer, but only late in the race. Do you think it's possible that Ak really could just get his way here from the outside post?
I think he's going to try again. I mean, he went to the front, but Yannick beat him to the front in that Armbro flight final. I think that she was best in there, but James McDonald was the difference in that race. And if you watch that race, when he kicked off cover with Dial Square, he got the jump on Call Me Goo. Call Me Goo had to wait. Now, she had plenty of go, but she got room, but Dial Square had flown. And I do think that James McDonald made a huge difference in that race. And really, that was his home turf, and he could drive anywhere, but I do think Call Me Goo might be a little better over this racetrack. I do think that she's forward again. I'm not sure what MM's Dream will do because, yeah, she punched out from the rail in her Armbro flight, but ultimately she tired pretty quickly at the top of the stretch. And certainly, I mean, I just think that Call Me Goo is going to go again. And I don't think Ak takes any prisoners here. Can James produce that same rally on Dial Squared here? Maybe, but the price is going to be lower, like Thomas said. And I'm not sure that he can produce that perfect trip again, that perfect trigger pull when it was time to go. So yeah, Call Me Goo for me also. I do think that she's the one and gets back to that Meadowlands. There's a lot of things to like in her.
That's the trickiest piece of it to me is Dial Square having that perfect trip, and really that seeming like that seemed like that was the difference maker between her and Call Me Goo inside of that race. But Call Me Goo could get the tactical advantage inside of this stake specifically, because again, I don't know who really is going to want to thrust out of there. Maybe Eteria will show a little bit of speed just for positioning and such like that. It seemed like he had it in that race at Harris Philadelphia, but this is a different ball game than just a regular overnight. And Nelson Bright Eagle similarly has mostly been coming from off the speed too, so it could be a race that really falls into Ak's lap again. Though we aren't considering how MM's Dream could maybe throw a monkey wrench into things because Yannick Gingras stays with her. She's known to go forward, but I don't know. You guys, either of you can either insight on this, then we'll move on. When you fade off of a front stepping trip like that, I don't know how aggressive you might want to be again, but I mean, we know what Yannick does. So any thoughts from either of you?
I mean, I think it'll be forward. I just think that he might be better off trying to take the trip this time. That's the difference. So.
Yeah, and Yannick has been driving so many times against Aki now, and if Aki just looks straight forward, he don't gonna try to park him.
I guess when you're a guy like Aqua, sometimes they can't really tell how hard you want to go, how soft you want to be. That can sometimes play into your hands as well. Next race we're going to talk about is race number 6. It's the first of 2 divisions for the Dave Brower Memorial. 8 horses go postward inside of this stakes event, and actually a cool one from my home turf, making the invasion onto the Grand Circuit again, Musketeer Hanover. One that I just want to say I don't think people should really underrate. He was able to go 47 and change in the Alarage last season off of his campaign at Oak Grove. And, granted, Ken Hanover seems to be in career form inside of this one. I feel like Musketeer Hanover could at least be a player underneath. But, Mike, one discussion I was getting into, this aged pacing division seems kind of astray. It felt that way last year until a Buckabet Hanover was able to connect inside of the bigger ones and make himself the head honcho. But it seems like this year the crown really could be up for the taking. And right now, Ken Hanover certainly is making a case where he could be the top one here.
Yeah, he's been awesome. I mean, really 4 straight wins in 48-3. And that's undeniable. And that's going in 5/8 tracks, half-mile tracks. So now he gets a big track. He's raced well over this track in the past. He's the one to beat again. Buckabet's back, though, back at his, I know he's 7 years old, but this is his racetrack. He owns this place, and he's had a couple preppy type lines here. Now, some of those, I think the small, and I do think that they're going to go here. They're going to try. He kicked 25-4 against, those horses up in Canada, and they're very sharp right now. I mean, Brew Hanover and Nijinsky, they're 2 of the top, I think, horses in the sport also. So, Buckabet, the price might be a little bit too hard to overlook in this race. So I think I want him. And of course, I'll have a little Charlie May getting back to the Meadowlands. Usually when he gets back to the Meadowlands, he races pretty well. I know that he had to kind of drop to get a win last time. I don't know that he can win this race, but I do think that maybe he can catch a piece of it.
I couldn't really get a good sense of how the race would get bet. Thomas, there's a part of me that feels like Ken Hanover is the logical favorite. But when have gamblers really turned away from a Buckabet Hanover? I don't really know that he's going to be like a super ludicrous price, especially since that Mohawk Gold Cup, the more you look at it, it really does look like a tune-up mile.
Yeah, for me, this race there with only 8 horses in this field there, and Ken Hanover for me benefits so much of a 5/8 track compared to the bigger track when he's up against the big guns with his gait wise and like that. A Buckabet Hanover, he's not a big fan of 5/8 down on Philly. The first Mohawk is okay for him, but Meadowlands is his place and the Red Mile. A Buckabet Hanover against these horses there, if he come in a little sharper on the paper, he would be a big favorite. I'm going to take a stand here also, and it's maybe have to be the first time me and Mike agree for 2 races on a road directly. I also think a Buckabet Hanover is, for me, going to be a slam dunk in the early pick 4, and I'm going to single him because what do I going to benefit of having Ken Hanover on the ticket when he's going to be a big favorite? I don't think it benefits on Meadowlands against the bigger horses. Your horse from Oak Grove, Bukefalas, who has not beat any of those horses here, and he can maybe beat a Charlie Mania Spring in a step A coach's corner. No, I'm going to be all in on Buckabet Hanover. I think Dexter going to be aggressive with him. Yeah, let them come.
I have to wonder how aggressive Dex will be because we know a Buckabet has been showing a bit more speed over the last few years. And really from this inside draw with the scope of this race, he probably should be forward. And I mean, if he is forward at that point, you're getting 5-2 in some universe on him. I think I'd be pretty satisfied with how that race could turn out. That's a good insight too, Thomas, because I don't know that you really want to use both a Bugabet and Ken Hanover in any multis, because if you wanted to take a stand, a Buckabet wins this race probably 50 more times than Ken Hanover does, especially just looking at a Buckabet's form cycle coming into this race. Every race has just been trying to get him a little sharper for the next, and really most eye-catchingly in that Gold Cup, that becomes evident when you notice Dexter Dunn doesn't make that first up move against Brew Hanover. That to me was a sign that they were just kind of trying to see what they could get out of it, hope that the room came, and noteworthily, horse accelerated once he had that clearance. It was just a little too late against Brew Hanover.
There's other dances for him too. Like there's other races that they can grab with him. So yeah, I mean,
other ones they want to grab with him, just bigger pots down the line. It's a long season too. They're all trying to just make the most money that they can. I do wonder what Vukofalis will offer though, because remember he was going like 47 and change against the 4-year-olds last year, and we know that he's had some issues. I don't want to say of soundness, but I know that trainer Mike Russo was, he was candid about him as a 3-year-old, that sometimes the horse just wasn't 100%. And it seemed like he was really firing in the graduate series here at the Meadowlands last year. And it seems like the Meadowlands really has been a place where he does his best work. He's only been going 48 and change in those opens. It seems like maybe he's just 90 or 80% of what he was showing as a 4-year-old, but who knows, at some point he may be able to further gather that speed. Maybe making that foray into the tougher competition brings a little bit more out of him. Certainly price-wise, he may be worth using in the underneath spots. If for some reason he's off like 10 or 12 to 1 and you're looking to try and play some exotics, he's going to add some value.
I'd like to own this horse because, like he's never really won a significant race, but he's made $1 million. Like,
Not only owned, he's a homebred.
Almost $1 million.
He's a homebred. So Michael Pagonis owned the mare In It to Win a Fortune. I forget how much she made too, but it was a decent chunk of money. And then you just go and breed to who's the sire? To Lazarus of all horses, a stallion who really hasn't had any standouts in his North American progeny. And this one, you get the one that makes over $1 million. That's a good feeling. That's like several college funds covered as we'll move on to the second division of the Dave Brower Memorial Race number 8. 8 horses go postward here. We got By the Missile back in town. He was not his usual self in the Grade 2 Battle of Lake Erie, but he really torched the Scioto track, as it seems like every horse is doing this season. 147 and change effort. Who knows how that time is going to hold up, but we do know that last year when By the Missile was good, he could have also been the best in the division. He just didn't have the same prizes that a Buckabet Hanover was able to claim. Thomas, are we confident that maybe By the Missile will stay together inside of this?
I'm not sure. It's like it's starting 8-6, but nobody is better than Burke to keep them getting better and better and stay as his class. But he only raced 8 times last year. He's been up to 5 races this year, and with only 8 horses in the field. Like when I'm gonna go all in on a bucket, but I'm gonna try to see if I can get a little value in this race here. I've been trying to chase Coach Stephanos many times. He was taking off the gate in the Gold Cup up in Mohawk, but he kicked home 25-3. No chance. He kicked home 25 and a piece in the open on Hoosier. If he just get placed a little more forward and he's not sitting like 8 lengths off to the half, and if we can get 54 half-ish, something like that, he flies, Coach Stephanos. And I think we can get a little value on him because people going to bet Maximus Mikee because he has been crushing it on regular races. By the Missile is going to be a big favorite, but I'm going to try to see if I can get some value there on Coach Stephanos. Behind there, 7 colors if it is maximum with a helmet. It's not much more that I like, but Coach Stephanos, I know his back class.
I see this kind of going one of 2 ways, and Mike, you can contest this theory. By the Missile, off of a win like that, I think very clearly Yannick's just going to want to send him, try to go down the road, but knowing that sometimes he hasn't been at his smoothest, he's still trying to find his footing as a 6-year-old. there is also a chance that if tonight's not the night he fires, he backtracks, and that sets up for the outside tier to close. That's where I can see the appeal of a horse like Coach Stephanos inside of this race. But horses like, It's My Show and those types of stalkers might get into some trouble because they usually prefer to try and save as much ground as possible. How do you agree with that two-way setup here, or do you think it could set up differently?
No, I agree. I mean, I think By the Miss was all or nothing, and that's where he's been recently. And if you look, I mean, that battle of Lake Erie, he was nothing. Last year we were at Rosecroft whenever he was, in the Potomac Pace, and he was nothing. He bled pretty badly in that, race. That's sort of been the story of him recently. And so if he's good, then I think he'll win. If he's no good, then there's value everywhere. One thing I will say about Coach Stephanos is I do think that James McDonald drives him very, very, very well. I mean, he suits him. He knows the horse. He's won a couple big races with him. And he's got that huge kick. He needs a setup, though. And I don't know that he gets it here, depending on what By the Missile shows up. I think it's interesting that Dave Maneri ships Irvin Hanover for this race, especially since, the horse was tearing up Mohawk last year, going 47 in the fall. I mean, that was, insane at that time. And then since he's come back, I thought he's raced very well. He won the Camluck, the Gold Cup. He was first up in that race, no chance. And then he came back and won a Preferred. He's not really a horse that you think can maybe step into this Grand Circuit and really make noise. But this is a tough race. I think that it's interesting that they show up here. I don't know if this is an acid test for this horse maybe, but he's been facing some of the tougher ones. I mean, Brew Hanover and Nijinsky both would be favored in this race right now. So I do think he has a good chance, especially if the poor By the Missile shows up. And then, It's My Show is another horse that I'm a huge fan of. And he draws inside. He's raced well over this track in the past. I do think he could get a trip here too, especially if he's more forward with Zeron. He's interesting for me also. It's a tough race, but I think there's a lot of different ways you can go for sure.
Yeah, Coach Stephanos, just another thing. He raced at Oak Grove and was toppled by none other than Musketeer Hanover. Not again, just things to consider inside of the first and second division of the Dave Brower Memorial. Aside from that, if I'm looking at horses in the outer tier, part of me wonders if Oakwood Ardan has some appeal. And I understand I kind of sound like John Rallis here and trying to chase something like this, but I had a feeling the Mohawk Gold Cup would be a little too steep no matter the setup. Brew Hanover did get his setup, so Oakwood Ardan's really not going to make too much inroads on that. But if for some reason Jordan Stratton finds himself second over and By the Missile ain't firing, that could be like a luck of the draw circumstance. Oakwood Ardan can thrust through and get the win. But then at that point, I'd hope he's just like 30-1 inside of this race. And inside of multis and stuff like that, he could play.
I think he's going to be 30-1?
Well, I think he's going to provide high value in the multis because everyone's going to go towards the obvious horses. In the win pool, I think that's a pipe dream. But that's to say I probably wouldn't want to bet this horse to win because I'm not going to get the right odds for that type of circumstance to occur. But if you're looking to beat By the Missile and you're trying to find those closers, Oakwood Ardan, I feel, is a type that you could probably add to the ticket. You can definitely add Coach Stephanos. I don't have a good read on Irvin Hanover. That's one where it's really up to how much am I trusting my boy Mikey P that day if I'm putting together the ticket and his analysis. I don't like that he was first up in the Gold Cup. I don't like that it feels like he won the Camluck opportunistically, but he's only had 4 starts so far this season. Each one has been a little better than the last. He's coming in off a win in that Preferred, so I could also see a case for him at the end of the day. I don't really want It's My Show just yet, especially because, again, he's going to be sitting at the inside, saving ground. I've seen him do this trip forever, and it's kind of funny that his brother, Best in Show, did the same trip to win the Meadowlands Pace. Just crazy.
I picked him that day too.
I specifically remember we were there out at the Meadowlands on Meadowlands Pace night on my birthday, and I had Better's Wish, which he really raised his eyeballs out that day. Next, we go to race number 9, Crawford Farms Trot. 9 horses go postward, and my goodness, Thomas, I just realized when I was looking at this race, I was trying to figure out, Periculum's such a specific type of horse. He likes to try and close in when everyone is tired, but I don't know that he's going to get that setup time and time again. And I see who's drawn in this race. Osceola from the pylons likes to go forward. Chapper Crash is on the outside, likes to go forward. Up Your Deo's on the outside, likes to go forward. Lexus Cody only goes one way. I realized this might be just like the textbook setup for Periculum.
Yeah, it is, and there is little quality difference on some of the horses too. I think it is a Melander race, either Periculum or Aetos Kronos. Aetos Kronos, like, he's 9-year-old and he's coming back for so many issues and got a Schneider owned him home in Europe, and he has been insane good for Melander. Aetos and Periculum and get two qualifiers. His 3 week in a row is good, just good for Periculum, because he's like so laid back, that horse. I was very disappointed last time. I took a shot on Get a Wish. I was expecting him after 2 prep races from Aki, then when Dexter was going to go home. And I know it was 123 and a piece to the 3/4 pole, but he looks sore and lame. It's going to be exciting to see if he races this week. I think if he don't going to get scratched, it's going to be also exciting to see if he raced with no shoes. He's a much better horse with no shoes, Get a Wish. Like Up Your Dale, when he won last time, that was first time this year with no shoes for Up Your Dale. And Up Your Dale is, for me, a horse that never want to pass a horse. So he's going to be overbet this race. Lexus Cody is getting up in age, 7. He don't have the quality, in my opinion, to beat the best ones, but he always do good races. So for me, this race here is Periculum for me, and I think you're going to get at least a good trip. I wouldn't be shocked if Aetos Kronos wins. I'm gonna see the warm up and Get a Wish, and I'm gonna see the information if he's racing with shoes or not. I think we can get a good value on him, and I know he's a good horse. That's the horses for me. I don't think Chaparras, Up Your Dale, Lexus Cody, they don't gonna have any money for me on the pick 4 ticket. So.
I had kind of a similar opinion of Get a Wish, and I was forgiving of that trip last time. It was kind of weird that it took Dexter so long to cross over in front of Lexus Cody.
He struggled with him. He was sore. He was almost just carrying him. That's why he didn't clear to the front before the last turn. And you could see him the last 116. It was something there, and he struggled with health issues in Scandinavia. So I hope they did some wet work on him, and it's going to be exciting to see him without shoes. I know that was the plan, to save the shoe. He's a good friend of me, owns him. So the plan is to race with no shoes, and yeah, it's going to be exciting. I think we can get a little value on him, but I didn't like the race last time.
I also don't know if this turns out to be a speed setup type of race, how much I'd really want Eidos Kronos inside of this spot too, because Dex is at least methodical. The horse isn't super fast off the gate, but he grinds when everyone else tires. But that could still be a lot of work for him to do through a quarter. Maybe he doesn't clear until past the 3/8. And at the same time, it doesn't seem like Dex has really had to ask him to go all the way down into the well. So this could be a spot where, depending on how it unfolds, you can see what the bottom of him might be, and it might be enough just to win. Same time, class-wise, he doesn't really compare to Periculum. Periculum has the resume. We know what he is. And on top of that, he's such a strong horse too. Like, it's kind of crazy remembering him as a 3-year-old when Matthias was driving him. He's, correct me if I'm wrong, Tom, he's bulked up as he's gotten older.
Yeah, he have. But the crazy thing, like, if you take class-wise, Periculum, he didn't make more than $30,000 in Sweden as a 4-year-old when they send him to Donny Reden. Aetos Kronos in Europe is a superstar. He's like, you couldn't compare Aetos Kronos, what he have been doing, compared to Periculum. But it's a different case when they come over here. Aetos is 9, Periculum is growing into his body when he's 6. So, and Marcus have done a crazy, amazing job with him, because I was sure he was gonna, as a 4-year-old, do very, very good. There is not a horse I've lost more money on in the Scandinavian races than Periculum. So, and he benefits of a big track compared to the 5/8 tracks we have in Scandinavia.
Mike, for you inside of this race, are you kind of in agreement with what seems like the popular opinion, also most likely on the betting board?
Yeah, it's hard to look past Periculum, right? I mean, now they're just picking spots for him. and he gets set up. It's hard to pick against him. And, Melander has the other horse in the race. I wouldn't sell Lexus Cody too short. I realize that he's maybe not of the same class of those other two horses, but he's really fast and he's capable of speed tries. He's going to be in it. He lost the neck to Periculum and the Cutler. So he's right there with these horses, especially over this racetrack. He's outside post, probably get a little bit of a price compared to the other two in the race. So I don't know. I don't know if I would want to leave him off tickets. I do think that horse needs things to go right to beat those two horses, but he's fast enough and he's capable for sure.
I just don't know if this will be his day. I'm still impressed.
No, I get it, but he's a horse you have to talk about.
Yeah, sure. I'm still impressed on Hambletonian Day. He was able to break 150 in the Vincennes, I think is the race that he won. But just from this draw against this group, I can see him hitting the ticket, maybe getting second, maybe getting third, all depending. But I don't see him being able to hold off a horse like Periculum if that's the one coming down the center of the track. Brief discussion then of the last stake we'll talk about, the Perfect Sting $116,000 $116,500 stake event. Not really too much to talk about because Twin B Joe Fresh is really nullifying any type of conversation in the aged pacing mare ranks beyond anything superlative, specifically about her. No one really mounting themselves as a serious contender. I thought on the last show, the over-under of her win margin would be 7 lengths. I think it could have been if Dexter fully unleashed her. I thought she could have gone 47 and change up there at Woodbine Mohawk Park, but it was only start number 2. No point in doing that. Really, any thoughts from either of you on Twin B Joe Fresh here? 1-9. Nothing really interesting to discuss by the sound of it.
She is 1-9. I don't try to beat her too many times last year either. And when you see Twin B Joe Fresh, I've seen her close up. She looks like a breeding stallion. She is. I last year. I'm not sure if maybe they do it this year. On the harness, they have hockey pucks, so the bike's coming out wider because she is massive, massive, because she don't fit in the race bike if you don't do it. And she is like a freak. Have you seen the picture of her? She looks like a breeding stallion.
I haven't seen the hockey pucks.
Hockey pucks. I'm gonna see if I'm in the paddock. I'm gonna take picture of it. I remember it last year. I haven't looked after, but she is huge.
I remember kind of saying back when it was her versus Sylvia Hanover, I really thought that once Twin B Joe Fresh would grow, that she would be a really good horse. And that's just saying to me that really is like that's evidence of how good she is the musculature really has come in. But Mike, I guess any thoughts on it's nice that women, be them human, horse, they can be big and they can be strong and they can have it going on.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not going to comment on that. But the only thing I'm going to say is that it's nice to see Sylvia Hanover starting to get back to herself a little bit. And the fact that they're shipping here says a lot. She's been hanging out in Canada mostly, but I do think she's a clear second choice in this race, second best to Twin B Joe Fresh. So, that would be the only thing I would be interested in. And she's not quite what she was, but she's still pretty good. And I do think she's getting a little better. They hit the road. It'll be interesting. I don't think she could beat the favorite, but at least she's here and she's getting back to herself. So I like that.
And Tim Tetrick seems like he'll pick up the drive again on her. We only have the proofs. Everything's going to be finalized most likely by the time you're listening to this. But at the time of recording, it seems like Tetrick going to be back in the bike. I think he drove her last time at Plain Ridge. Who knows? Who cares? That's it for this episode of the Harness Players Podcast. Of course, I also want to, again, thank Diamond Creek Farms for helping to support content like this, trying to focus on not just talking harness racing, because anybody can really talk harness racing, but we're focused on trying to talk betting harness racing, breaking down harness racing, and how to break down harness racing with betting in mind. That's, of course, why everyone comes to In the Money Media here on the YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel if that's how you're watching this. If you're listening to the podcast, drop everything you're doing. Pull over your car because you don't want to do this while driving. It's illegal in like half the states now to diddle with your phone while you're driving the car. Pull over, open up YouTube, subscribe to the channel, and then when your girlfriend in the passenger seat is going, why did we pull over? You have to say, my podcast host, who's my friend, told me to subscribe to the channel. And then she goes, he's not your friend. And she may have a point. But I want to thank Thomas Svensen. I want to thank Mikey P. I want to thank myself for showing up here after doing 5 hours of TV at Oak Grove Racing, Gaming, and Hotel, and even calling the last 2 races there at Oak Grove. Be sure to watch out for more horse racing content, especially harness racing content on the In the Money Media YouTube channel. And of course, keep an eye on the podcast feed as harness racing stakes season continues to roll. You can definitely expect more harness players podcasts inside of your feed. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye.